Hi, folks. John Dunn here, RPG freelancer, publisher behind Melee Via. I'm up here today at Immortals with Mikey.
What is up, John? And what do we have on our tales today?
Well, we're going to talk about some film-based game materials.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to see, first off, Mikey, have you seen any of the Alien or Aliens movies?
Believe it? I have. I've seen the original.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Well, if you may recall, in those movies, there were some cyberpunk elements, right? So it's a dark future where people are living really challenging lives that are kind of dependent on some, let's diplomatically say, extraordinarily corrupt corporations.
Yeah, pretty depressing stuff.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to bring some of that depression to the game table today.
Yes.
With Alien Building Better Worlds.
Bring the depression.
Absolutely. So if you've played around with the Alien game system at all from Free League, you may have noticed that it is really well suited to one-shot games, and really Alien in general is really well suited to one-shot games because, let's face it, in the movie, people die horribly, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much in all of them. Not a whole lot of those characters make it to the end alive.
Yeah, like crawling through the chest. I mean, just the worst ways possible.
Yeah, it's not generally a good time. Well, I think Free League kind of looked at that and said, we want to have a model for games that last a little longer. And so they decided to come out with Building Better Worlds. And this is their first genuine campaign source book for Alien that I'm aware of. And with this one, they give you a framework for a campaign and a whole lot of tools to keep it going. This was created by Andrew E.C. Gaska and Dave Samark. Hopefully I'm not mangling your names there. They both worked pretty extensively on the Alien game line, starting with the core book and a whole lot of the other materials as well. So since this is a core book, since this is a campaign book, you do need to have that core rule book already. But then this book is also broken down into a players section and a GM section, much like that. And the whole concept for it is outer colony development. So these worlds that are very distant from Earth, where things, aren't real stable and you're pretty much completely dependent on the corporations coming by and helping you out with supplies. And, oh, look, maybe an alien might show up here.
Oh.
That kind of environment where you could be really far from help if something goes horribly wrong. That's the campaign concept. The whole extrasolar colonial administration that Wayland Yutani has ties in with. You've got elements with the thrill of exploration. So if exploration could be a big part of what really drives your game group, there's opportunities for that. But there's also that, kind of post-apocalyptic-ish, isolationist colonialism thing going on for your players if they want to have that opportunity to really be completely independent from the rest of civilization. Because of FTL and cryosleep, there's dozens of colonies out there that all exist really by the end of the 21st century. There's a future history here that goes up through 2184 and talks about all the expansion that happened. There's a great deal of corruption. There's a whole lot of disease. There's wars between some of these different colonial groups. So you've got different nations on Earth that expanded and claimed different colonies, much, like the historic age of colonization on Earth, right?
Yeah.
Where they just kind of went out there and then once they got far from home, started new wars. Yeah, that happened in the future history of the Alien.
It's usually how it goes.
Well. Yeah. The next chapter that gets into in the player section is organizations. It talks about scientific exploration, SEV, vehicle expeditions. It talks about the Extrasolar Colonization Administration, the ECA, and then it talks about a lot of different government entities, including, of course, the USMC, the Marine Corps, characters that featured so heavily in Aliens, and as well as a lot of other corporations and entities that maybe got a little less screen time there. After that, there's a character creation expansion section about making frontier colonists. You get a couple of new careers, the Wildcatter and the Entertainer. The Entertainer is, maybe a gambler or a performer of some sort to try and help with morale. And the Wildcatter is somebody that's, running heavy equipment.
Entertainer probably has a mustache.
If it's a guy, hopefully.
If it's a guy.
Yeah.
If it's a guy. If it's a girl, I mean,
if that's what you're into.
Yeah.
Right. There you go. And then there's some new talents, and there's a whole section on personal agendas because these people that are out in the frontier have their own set of motivations. Maybe sometimes that's because they're planted out there. Maybe sometimes it's for other reasons of just, their personal goals. Then we get a little bit of new gear, ranging from weapons to armor to survival gear, and then vehicles all the way up through spacecraft. There's a pretty comprehensive selection of gear here that could play out because you're working in a situation of isolation, so you need to have a pretty good idea of what kind of equipment you've brought out there with you, because it's really not going to be easy to replace. After that, we dive right into the GM section, and that begins with talking about campaign setting. It discusses settlement types. It talks about running a explorer campaign versus a colony campaign, because, with the explorer, you want to go see things, but you're not going to hang out there, right? You're going to go see as many new things as you can and try and find something of value, because when you do find that, then you can sell that information back to the corporations.
Otherwise, your title means nothing.
Exactly. But with a colony, you're not traveling from place to place, right? You're establishing a new culture and you're trying to build that up. And in many cases, you're building it up from nothing because you're starting with terraforming, right? You're trying to create an atmosphere on just a barren rock so that you can have enough there for the colony to take root. It talks about expeditions, which are basically your scenario notions, and it gives you 15 different ideas here, and there's a whole lot of different potential because, anything can happen when you're isolated like that. And then it offers a whole section on frontier challenges, basically different ideas, different kind of things that can go wrong or things that you might need to develop. Then we get a breakdown of more than 35 different systems and the colonies that are out there. And it talks about why people might have come to these colonies, what they have to offer, and what their status is, because they're not all just completely barren rocks. Some of them have seen some development, but none of them are exactly, let's say, thriving yet, right? They've all got issues. Then we get into the extrasolar species catalog. So these are your different xenomorphs. There's really more than 10 different alien varieties here, and they all offer some interesting hooks into the campaign, right? So they can be presented in a variety of different ways at different challenge levels depending upon where your characters are coming from and how well equipped and supported they might be. The next around 150 pages or so of this book is the Lost World Sandbox campaign. And this talks about a bunch of colonies that have been essentially isolated from the rest of human civilization. And there's 6 adventures there that are about trying to recover and restore those back into the fold, find out what happened here, and if you can, reestablish communications and, collect the tribute that's owed back to the corporations that helped found them.
Of course.
Yeah, let's get to priorities here. And those can be played in pretty much any order. There's a sandbox that's set up here with the spaceship that the characters are traveling on, and a whole bunch of NPCs that are pretty well fleshed out for the characters to interact with aboard that ship. And then there's one final 7th capstone adventure because, not shockingly, there's the potential for things to go, let's say, horribly wrong for the characters. And that kind of ties everything together, gives you hooks into the other worlds that they visited, and lets the players decide maybe exactly how things are going to fall out for these lost colonies. The plot's a little bit disturbing. That's pretty on brand for Alien.
It's pretty Alien, if you ask me.
Yeah. There's an appendix that follows that up with details for building your own colony, and that gets into building the world and the system that colony is associated with as well. A whole lot of tables, opportunities for random creation here. I think it would work really well, and I do think that even if you weren't interested in running the campaign, that little nugget, those last, 10-ish pages, is a great mechanical tool that you could use with Alien, or honestly, with a whole lot of other game systems too, if you wanted to set that kind of thing up. This is from Free League Publishing. It's about 300 pages, hardcover, full color, $45. If you're considering running Alien as more than just a one-shot, I think this could be a really valuable resource for you because it can give you a whole lot to do with it. A lot of cool artwork in here, great graphic design, well put together book. Got copies here on the shelf at Immortals Inc. or available at immortalsinc.com.
Well said, John. All you sci-fi go-getters, go get it.
Till next time, folks. Good gaming.
Peace.